On the last Friday of my university break, Esmeralda, a good friend of mine, invited me to Parramatta for a nice little picnic and a quick catch-up before semester started. It was raining slightly as we got to Parramatta, so we wandered through Parramatta Park, moving from dry place to dry place, catching up and generally having a pretty good time. When the rain cleared up a little bit, Esmeralda decided she was going to take me down to the river to show me something amazing that only really happens at this time of year. So off we went to have a little bit of an adventure. We talked about how dirty the river had become and laughed a little bit at a sign that literally warned people not to eat more than about 150 grams of the fish they caught in that river a month in case they got dreadfully sick. And just after that I saw them, hundreds and hundreds of bats, all roosting from the trees along the river. It was amazing. We walked down the bank a little further so that I could take in just how many of them they were, and we were having a truly astoundingly beautiful moment of observing nature, and then we noticed something terrible. Or rather, Esmeralda did. As we were looking around, she noticed that there was a native Australian bird just a little ways away from us, and it didn't look like it was in good shape. When we first moved towards it to see if it was okay, it spread its wings and looked as though it was going to try and fly away, and then it just sort of waddled off into a corner and stopped, not really moving much again after that. We had a problem. This was an Australian native bird and it was injured. It might even be in danger from predators. Esmeralda wasn't going to have a bar of that, and the moment she could, she pulled out her phone and called WIRES, the Wildlife Information, Rescue and Education Service here in New South Wales. We got in touch with a lady who informed us that as they couldn't get somebody down to Parramatta River that day, we were going to have to care for this poor vulnerable creature ourselves. They gave us some information on how we could possibly help this poor creature, and also gave us the contact information for the Cottage Animal Hospital in Parramatta. And after a quick call to confirm that they could actually help us to help this poor bird, we went off on a nice 20-minute stroll to the animal hospital to collect a large animal transport crate and some blankets. On the way, Esmeralda called her friend James, who happened to be nearby and had a car, and together we all met at the animal hospital, collected the equipment, and then drove back to Parramatta Park to get this bird. Once we got back to the park, we all got out of the car, took the crate down to where we had left the bird, and it hadn't moved anywhere. Esmeralda and James managed to capture the poor thing, we put it in the box, we put the box in the car, we drove back to the animal hospital, and we surrendered the bird to them. We left the animal hospital feeling pretty good about ourselves. After all, we had done an incredibly good thing helping out this injured bird. But in reality, if we hadn't known to call WIRES, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. After asking around, I found that while a couple of people did know that they could call WIRES, most people didn't even know that, and definitely had no idea what they would have to do if they came across an injured native animal in their daily travels. Thankfully, the education part of the name WIRES isn't for nothing, and if you go to their website, you can find a pretty comprehensive guide to what you should do if you come across an injured animal. The first thing that you should do is that you should check for any threats around the animal. That can sometimes mean locking up any cats or dogs or other large pets that you have anywhere near you, and also means keeping people away from the creature in general. The next thing you have to do is to contain the animal so it doesn't escape or go anywhere else until help arrives. Like we did, covering the animal with a blanket is a nice way of containing it, and it can also calm it down enough that you can get it into some form of transportation to take to a vet. If you do that though, be careful, be very gentle. You don't want to cause any further harm to the animal, and you also don't want to cause any harm to yourself. If you think that the animal is going to lash out at you in a way that's going to put you in danger, it's best just to keep things away from it until help arrives. The third thing that you should note is that you should not give food or drink to these animals. You should definitely leave that one to the professionals, who will not only know what the particular animal's diet is, but will also be able to assess whether or not it can handle food or water in its current state. And lastly, you should seek professional advice. If you're in New South Wales, you can call 13 000 WIRES, but if you're anywhere else, or if WIRES aren't able to contact you, you should contact your local Parks and Wildlife office or your nearest vet, and they should be able to help you out, especially if you can deliver the animal to them safely. So in summary, if you come across an injured native Australian animal, you need to keep danger away from it, try your best to contain it, contact WIRES or your local Parks and Wildlife office, and by no means think it is okay to give it food or water. Even if you know these steps, it's often useful to have contact information not only for WIRES and your local Parks and Wildlife officer, but also your nearest vet programmed into your phone. But there you go, now you know exactly what you can do to help if you come across an injured native Australian animal. And now you finally know the story of how Esmeralda and I found and saved a native Australian bird with a little help from good guy James. On top of that though, it's worth mentioning that Esmeralda and I actually found a rainbow lorikeet who was injured as we were headed home from the vet. We were able to quickly scoop it up into Esmeralda's picnic basket and take it straight back to the vets where they were able to take care of it from there, and it was so much easier doing that the second time because we actually knew what to do. So hopefully this video will be able to help you to be prepared for if this ever happens to you. I'd like to thank Esmeralda for a wild and crazy day that I'm likely never to forget in my lifetime. And we would also like to thank James, Wise, and the Cottage Animal Hospital in Parramatta for helping us to help these birds who we've been told will make full recoveries in time. If you have a similar story, why not leave it in comments, and if you would like to know more about what you can do if you come across injured native Australian wildlife, you can check out the Wise website, which I have conveniently linked in the description below. Also feel free to like and share this video around, but otherwise I hope you are having a wonderful day/evening, and I hope to see you back here this time next week with yet another video. Goodbye, internet. So a few of you have commented and asked me to give you a couple more tips on how to survive semester, because apparently you guys can't get enough of me talking